Welcome to the podcast, guys. I am back, and another episode of Canine Conversations, our podcast that I'm glad you're tuning into. Amid all this crazy strife that's going on with the coronavirus, I'm here, and you're there. And now that you're in your home, you're kind of confined. You got more time to listen, more time to interact, more time to do good things. And I want to kind of focus on that as the real point of this podcast here is that in everything there's a silver lining, and it's not very easy to find a silver lining in this kind of situation. But, the one thing is, people always say, oh, I wish I could stay home. I wish I didn't have to go to work. I wish I had more time to do this or to read or to train my dog, for example. And this is one of those situations where now you've got this time. Now, the time is presented to you. You've got it in front of you. And it gives you this opportunity to either do something with or don't do something with. But the opportunity is here. You can spend more time with your family. You can spend more time with your friends that are, maybe you get to do the social distancing thing and whatever. But the whole idea is, if you look at maybe the bright side in this whole thing, it is that you have an opportunity to do something. And one of the things that, I obviously always focus on is the dog training, because people always say, I don't have the time to do it. And if you don't have the time to do it, this is now the time to do it. You got nothing else to do. You can't leave your house. But the big thing I want to focus on, I did a live cast on YouTube today, and I did a live cast on Instagram today about it. And that is that we've got to pull together on this, right? For all the people who are criticizing the president, the governors, the mayors, the first responders, the people enacting things, you got to get your head out of your asses and really focus on the fact that we got to pull together. We can't look at this as a black and white, a Republican, Democrat, a man, woman, a foreign or American kind of thing. This is kind of one of the few things, aside from an alien invasion, that really should pull us together as a community, as a people. And I think, a lot of countries are doing every single thing they can. I think this government is doing everything they can. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican, a Democrat, a governor, a senator, a president, a mayor, or whatever. I truly believe in my heart that everyone is really trying to do the very best they can to make this as easy a time, as painless a time, and as productive of a time as they can. So I'm not going to get into politics here, but I'm really tired of the crap of slamming politicians, of slamming doctors, of slamming everybody. It's just complete and utter nonsense. I can't handle it. It's just so negative. And it's generally always perpetuated by people who are just negative. They're just negative about everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I train a dog. Oh, I don't like the way you train the dog. I drive my car. I don't like the way you train the car. You run the car. I don't like the way you run the country. I don't like the way you do this. I don't like to do that. And it's just freaking negative. And the negative stuff has just got to stop. You just can't keep dealing with it. And, look at it the way your dog is dealing with things. Your dog deals with things in the moment and with a positive outcome in his mind. Right? In other words, he just thinks it's going to be great. Everything's going to be fun, no matter what. No matter if your dog is sick or your dog is in pain or your dog is frustrated or confused or whatever. The dog is trying to just live in that moment with the idea that this is going to be okay. And that's what we got to do. We got to live with the idea that it's going to be okay. We're going to be okay as a world, as a people. We're all going to be okay. It's not a big deal. Look, I'm no prophet. I'm no politician. I'm no doctor. I'm no scientist. I'm basically just a dog trainer. But just keep in mind that everything's going to be all right. In other words, you don't have to worry that much. You don't have to be so concerned. You don't have to have conspiracy theories or crazy, anti-government theories, which I'm sure is the same thing. But you don't have to do that. Just you live in this moment. Take this moment and cherish it. Cherish it for the good that it brings. Cherish it for the experience you can have in it, and just move forward from there. So that's kind of really my message in a bottle for this, is that whatever it is, make the best of it. If you don't know anybody who's got the coronavirus or who's died from the coronavirus or is sick from the coronavirus or whatever, just chill out. And don't go buy 50 rolls of toilet paper, people. I mean, I didn't do it. Janet and I kind of got some basic necessities because she said, we're going to be held up in the house. We're going to cook a little bit more. We're going to watch some movies since you don't have to go to the store anymore to get DVDs. Made sure our Netflix membership was active. We got Amazon Prime, Apple TV. I'm listening to music more. I'm focusing more on my membership section on my website, Robert Cabral. I'm sure if you're a member there, you're seeing that I'm putting up more content, posting more on social media, trying to keep you guys more engaged and more focused on the one thing that you can all kind of do, and that is train your dogs. Train your dogs, or play with your dogs, or walk your dogs, or give love to your dogs, give cuddles to your dogs. Sit on the couch and watch TV and have your dog next to you. Give your dog the love they really deserve. That's something you can do during this time. It's not going to cost you anything. And that. Now, the other thing is people are, now they're saying people are giving up dogs a lot in shelters. And trust me, if your dog goes to a shelter, it's going to die or it's going to live a miserable life. I've worked with shelters for 10 plus years, right? And I know what goes on. I know the lie that's often told. They'll tell you, oh, we're not going to kill the dog. But the bottom line is if they're not killing your dog, if you've ever visited a shelter before today, I can tell you that every single kennel in the shelter is full, right? So there's no empty spaces. So when you then drop a dog there, you have to think to yourself, well, if every kennel is full and I'm dropping a dog here, what's going to happen? And then let me tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen is a dog is going to get killed. In order to make space for your dog, one dog has to die. And that's really sad, right? That's really, really, really messed up. So I would urge you, don't give up on your dog. In this time, in any time that's really a tough time, the one thing that can pull you through and give you the normalcy, the stability, the mental clarity to keep going is your dog. Now, dogs have lived with people for tens of thousands of years. Poor people. I see homeless people all the time. Homeless people with dogs. Homeless people, essentially, from what I'm understanding, don't have any money, but they have dogs. Right? So if a homeless person can afford to have a dog and you have a podcast that you're listening to through your headphones, through your car or whatever, you can afford to keep your dog. Do not give up on your dog. Please, I beg you, if you need help with dog food or something, shoot me an email, shoot me a contact, shoot me a Facebook message or something. I'll help you figure out. I know there's organizations out there that will help people feed their dogs and take care of their dogs if something should, they need some kind of attention. There's tons of organizations out there. Giving your dog up is not the right way to go. You can also, remember this, if you're feeding your dog the most fancy dog food and suddenly you lost your job because of this coronavirus, then feed him cheaper dog food. Trust me, your dog will fare much better in your home eating cheap crap dog food than in a shelter where they're going to be fed cheap crap dog food anyway. So there's nobody who can care for your dog better than you. Please don't give up on your dog. Please do not do this. I lose all respect for people when they give up on their dog. So don't let me lose respect. Don't make me lose my respect for you. So what I want to do today is I want to spend some time answering questions because I get so many questions. I get bombarded with questions. And today will be a really nice opportunity for us to run through a bunch of them. Let's just spend the days running through questions here. Let's see if I can read this from my glasses. I prefer not to have headphones and glasses on. It's a lot of stuff on the head. So, and by the way, you know what? All this stuff, people are so upset. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I'm locked in my house. So, oh my God. People are in jail for crimes they never committed. People went to war in foreign countries and slept in trenches. Living in your own home in the United States, right? If you're listening to this in the United States, and if you're listening to it in Europe, you've got it pretty damn good too. This is not that tough. I mean, I really think this is the least tough society we've ever had. I mean, we're just growing up a bunch of wimps. And everybody's complaining already, oh, it's so hard. I can't go to the gym. I can't do that. It's complete and utter freaking bullshit. Remember, your grandfather, or my grandfather, went to war. Maybe some of your parents went to war. Maybe some of your brothers and sisters went to war. Think of people who went to war to defend this country, the United States of America, or another country. Those people had it tough. You locked up in your nice apartment or your nice house is not that tough. If you lost your job, it's harder. I get it. But listen, you found a job, you'll find another job. You found the job you had, you'll find another one. So don't overdo this. I'm going to reach over here and get a drink because I'm sure my throat's going to get dry. And I'm going to cough from dry throat, which I always do. So, all right, let's hit some questions. So this one goes out to Lily. And Lily says, do you have any recommendations on collars for rescue dogs to help volunteers have a better control over them for walking during events? I volunteer at a local rescue. We're already using a martingale. We have pit bulls dealing with mostly big dogs. So basically what you're saying, and I, because of my work with shelters all the time, I can answer this really quickly. The single best way to control a dog or to maintain control over a dog is going to be with a slip lead. There's nothing to come apart. It's a simple shepherd's noose. It's a leash that, it has a handle on one end and a noose on the other end. And it's the easiest way. All my classes I teach at Bound Angels University all utilize a slip lead, a shepherd's noose, slip lead, British slip lead, whatever you want to call it. It's basically, just Google it. Go to my Amazon store on, go to robertcabral.com, click on resource and go to my Amazon store. It's all there. It's all there. Martingales are great. Slip leads are a little bit better. Jana says, our 8-month Cane Corso started biting his leash when I want to take him out walking. He jumps and tries to take hold of the leash. If this happens in the garden before we leave, I let go until he calms down. But the other night this happened out on the street, I got scared that he might bite my hand or arm when he was jumping and trying to get a hold of my leash. Is he trying to prove that he is the leader? What should I do? First of all, it's not about a leader. This is an 8-month-old puppy, and the puppy's being playful. And if you got a Cane Corso, I certainly hope that you don't use the word to me, I got scared that he might bite my hand or arm. Because if you do use that word, you got the wrong dog. Cane Corso is a serious dog. I hate when people get these kind of dogs and then say, oh, I'm afraid something might happen. Let me tell you something. If you got a Cane Corso, you got a Mastiff, you got a Borbal, you got a Shepherd, you got a dominant dog, a Pit Bull, a Rottweiler, anything these kind of dogs, you shouldn't be afraid something's going to happen because you should have control over the dog. And that means at an early age, you got to control the dog. The dog is being playful. The dog might be being playfully dominant, but the more he sees that you're not in control of the situation, the more he's going to continue to do this, and it will become a dominant thing, and you got to fix it. So I would hire a trainer to help you with this. Usually the best way to do it is to not pull on the leash when the dog does it, but to give a correction on a second leash. So I use 2 leashes when dogs do that. You'll need a trainer to help you do that. It's not an easy thing to do, but you got to get a handle on it, and you got to get a handle on it soon, because if this dog gets older and older, this is only going to get worse. Nick Heel says, issue here in India is that there are so many strays that it's almost impossible to find out the nature of the mother dog. Okay, so what you're saying is if you get a dog, you're not going to know the nature of the mother dog. My dog is a rescue and we have no idea about his mother. I believe my dog to be 80% friendly and 20% dangerous. He lunges at me at night in attack standby mode with his tail wagging, hardcore resource guardian. Only with me, other family members can take resources, but if I get aggressive reactions, playful biting when friendly and jumping on people to lick faces. He does growls, pulls his leash if another dog comes around, had trainers work with him, but issues have not been resolved. What should I do? Because he is a danger to himself in some instances where the risk of him being run over by a vehicle or getting in a dog fight. He's not a fighter, okay, blah, blah, blah. You guys got to keep these questions shorter because these long questions, I can't really get to the whole thing. Basically, you're dealing with a situation of structure. I don't know how old the dog is. I don't think you said how old he is. And it's what you were referring, what he's referring back to is a situation where I talked about that a dog's temperament and personality is often based very much on the temperament of the mother, because the way the mother raises, the genetics of mother and father, obviously, make up the constitution of the dog that you're currently dealing with. Now, not knowing that much about the dog, my phone's ringing, but I don't even know where it is. Where is that phone? No idea. I'm just going to let it go. Anyway, so the personality of the dog is going to basically be what you know, right? So what you're seeing, what you've dealt with, what you've handled, and you've got to get onto the dog the idea that you're in control. I don't know how big the dog is. I don't know how big you are. I don't know how capable you are of physically handling this dog or anything like that. But you have got to show this dog that you can control him. And if you can't, it's the wrong dog. You've got to give the dog away or something. But you have to, I would start probably by hand feeding the dog, by giving the dog structure, by giving the dog a job to do, asking for certain behaviors, a down, a go to a place, a sit, a wait, a leave it, all those basic things. Go through my videos and see how I focus on building this structure, because it's a relationship. A relationship has to be built. It's not something you're going to just force onto the dog, but you've got to, the dog must 100% know that you're in control of him. If not, you're just dealing with an animal that's going to be out of control, and it'll be a danger to you, it'll be a danger to somebody else, and he's going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt, or somebody else is going to get hurt. Before that happens, I'd get rid of the dog. You don't want that to happen. You don't want a serious injury, especially to a child or to another person. So control and structure. I'm telling you guys all this. If you're listening to this podcast, if you can hear these words coming out of my mouth, do not get a dog that you can't physically handle. It's not cool. I hate it when I see older people with younger shepherds. I was just at the park the other day and a friend of mine's training a dog and he says, belongs to two people, they're 80. If you're 80 years old and you're getting a young shepherd, I mean, at least they have the common sense to hire a good trainer. But I mean, my God, you got the trainer for an hour, a couple of times a week maybe, but you got this dog for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not going to work. There's a lot of good dogs, a lot of easy dogs. That's what you need to get. Jerusha Joseph, so maybe it's Joseph Jerusha, I don't know. My German Shepherd becomes aggressive when a stranger comes, and in that aggression, he even bites anyone near him. That's called redirected aggression, okay? Please suggest how to deal with his behavior. He's also very afraid of my father, and when my father comes near, he gets under the table or bed and then starts to growl at him. Please help. Well, this all goes back to the same thing, and that is structure, 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 structure. So if the dog becomes aggressive when a stranger comes around, it's because it's a lack of structure. The dog doesn't understand who's in control, so the dog is assuming this position of dominance or fear. It's obviously fear with your father, and it might be dominance with somebody else. The dog needs a balanced life. You can't have a dog that's scared to death of your father. Maybe, what did your father do to him? Did your father correct him, overcorrect him, to put too much pressure on the dog or something like that? I don't know. I'm getting half the story. So these questions, really, I focus on them being kind of short, to the point advice, little snippets of wisdom. They're not really this complete analysis of a dog. So a lot of times I get these detailed questions and I can't answer them because I don't have all the information on the dog. So be aware of that when you're asking me these questions. Again, focus on some basic obedience. Get the dog to have a solid relationship with you and build a solid relationship with your father. The dog should not be fearful of anybody to the point of crawling under a table or a bed when that person's around. That's really unhealthy. It's really dysfunctional. It's not normal, not good for the dog. A good solid relationship where the dog has a good feeling about people. And if there's other people coming around, you might need to put this dog in a crate, let the dog see that there's nobody putting pressure on the dog, that everything is chill. Keep people safe from the dog, because once the dog starts biting, it's hard to undo that one. It's hard to unravel that. This one goes out to Kali, and it's not Cali because it's like two different words. But anyway, my 4-month-old girl Malinois, when we walk in crowded places, she's cool. But when we are in places where is one person on our path, she jumps on them and starts barking and growling. She also likes to jump on bikers and runners like crazy. Also, she loves cars, but we're working on that, and she starts to understand that cars are no-go zone. Is that just a phase? What can I do to prevent future unwanted situations? Well, you can train your dog. And if you got a Malinois, it's a dog that needs incredible training. If you got a Malinois and you don't know about these behaviors, if this dog has excessive prey drive, has excessive, can lead to excessive dominance or aggression towards people or cars or anything like that. The issue here you're dealing with the bicycle and stuff like that is the prey drive. Obviously, the same thing as the car. You're also dealing with the same thing. So when there's a lot of people, the dog is overwhelmed. It's like when there's a whole herd of zebra, the lion can't really go after the one zebra because they're confused. They have to get one singled out. So your dog is having that same kind of issue. When your dog sees one person, okay, that's the person they can go after. Now, most of the time, this should be a playful type situation. It's engaging play and doing this and doing that. You still need to enforce structure. So teach the dog a solid sit, a solid recall, and a solid look command that the dog looks at you, and then you can kind of get past this. But if you got a Malinois and you're dealing with these issues, it's just, and I mean, usually Malinois is just the wrong dog for most people. But you need to understand how to handle this dog, how to train him, and how to give this dog the life he should have. Next question goes out to Hamish, who says, hey, Robert, I look after my in-laws' dog regularly and have made good progress with training. They provide no structure for the dog at home and is now quite painful for me to watch it go back to that environment. Should I give up training this dog? It's a 2.5-year-old high-drive sheepdog and it lives inside. Well, you know what I would probably do here, Hamish, is I would ask the people if you could adopt the dog, because it seems like you're giving the dog a much better home than they're capable of doing. I mean, don't criticize them on it. Just say, oh my God, your dog's so much fun. He needs so much energy. I would love to have him. He'd probably have a great life with me. Make it a real kind of a friendly trade for them, or maybe offer them $100, $200 for them or something. But try this. You're doing so much. I mean, you made such great progress with the training. I would love to see you get the dog. I mean, I would really make that an effort that you should have this dog, because dogs deserve the kind of owner you are. And you're giving this dog a lot of love, a lot of interaction, a lot of structure, a lot of training. That's what these dogs need. They don't need, just to be cuddled and on the couch all day. That's important. If you can do that, if you can get them to give you the dog, then I would really try to do that. I think it would be much better for the dog. Next question goes out to J. Pierre, who says, we just adopted our late brother-in-law's dog. He has some separation anxiety because he very recently lost his master. And we're having a hard time stopping her from barking at people on the street that walk by our house and us as we walk with her. She is a big, intimidating dog, and us scaring the other people. How can I train this behavior out of her? What you can do is you can just watch my basic leash walking videos, because I think that will show you how to build some engagement with her, how to get her to focus on you and to look at you and to not veer off and like try to go lunging at other things. Dog needs to bond with you. Again, I love hand feeding in the beginning. It gets the dog to really focus on you, builds a really good structure for the dog. The separation anxiety, obviously she's just lost her master. You got to give her a little bit of a break, but you sent this question quite some time ago. By the way, I don't get to these questions unless it's my member section where I try to answer questions on a weekly basis. Here, it could be months till I get to a question. I'm so sorry. It's the best I can do. I do the best I can on these questions. I'm bombarded with them, and I hope to give you the best advice, and always check the other videos. But yeah, give the dog, some basic training would totally probably solve the problem with her. And kudos to you for adopting her and giving her a good home. I think that's fantastic. It's a special place in heaven for guys like you. Ahmad Bezan says, hello, Robert. Hope you're doing well. My dog is a German Shepherd, 6 months old and a half. The only problem we're facing is that he non-stops biting and nipping when I want to play with him or taking him on the leash. Okay, this is totally normal because you're dealing with a 6-month-old dog. All right, and also, what thing you prefer for dogs' teeth to make them clean? Okay, so great questions, Ahmad. First of all, it's a young dog. The dog is being playful. The dog's trying to nip. The dog communicates with its mouth. That's totally normal. I wouldn't worry about that at this point. I would try to get some good structure when the dog does those behaviors, when the dog starts jumping and biting and nipping and doing all those things. Try to just be really chill. Tell the dog, hey, knock it off. Be easy with the dog. You can scruff the dog a little bit on the back of the neck, but overdoing that with some dogs is going to make it worse, especially German Shepherd if it's a higher drive dog. So don't overdo that, but get the dog to understand that there's certain times to be in a crate, there's certain times to come out and play. Don't excite the dog's prey drive so much so that you end up with this kind of behavior. So you're just going to need to be a little calmer with the dog, and I think the dog will settle down. Remember, for the first year or so, this is normal. This is a puppy. It's like a child. Take it from me, I have no children. But the dog's going to act like that. Now, keeping the dog's teeth clean, I like using natural things like bones and turkey necks and stuff like that because it's really a good way to do it. You can get a really natural toothbrush and a toothpaste and toothbrush and brush the dog's teeth. I did it with my dog Silly. I did it with Goofy for a while. But I find their teeth stay pretty darn clean if you give them a really healthy diet. A lot of kibble oftentimes will kind of taint their teeth and make them a little bit darker, stain them as well. But just a good, healthy diet. That's kind of what I would probably go with more than anything. Okay, the next question goes out to Pau Velas. Pau Velas, I don't know. Maybe it's Paulo or something. Hey, I need some help. I want to adopt a dog that will protect my house and my family. I have 3 teen girls and 2 small Maltese dogs. Okay, forget it. I'm not going to read any further. You go on and on and on. I have a big front yard and backyard, but robbery is very common in my neighborhood, and I want to know what you would consider the best dog to fit my family. We are very aware of training and exercise. You know what I think you should do? First of all, you can't have 2 small dogs and a protection dog because they're not going to get along. It's not going to work out. I mean, it's very, very, very unlikely that you're just going to walk a protection dog into the house and it's going to get along with your small dog. Highly unlikely. If you're worried about your safety, I would get a gun. I'd hire a security company. I would be very, very careful. You have 3 teen girls. It's super important if you have a family or whatever you bring in. I would probably, if you really, really, really want a dog, remember, I mean, a dog can get shot. If somebody's going to rob your house and hurt you, they're going to shoot your dog or kill your dog. So that's going to be something really important. I would just buy a protection dog. I would go to one of the, if you need a referral for a protection dog place to buy one, and I'm not saying to buy a dog and then train it as a protection dog. I'm saying to buy a dog that was specifically bred and trained to do protection. Let me know. I really am against people buying dogs for protection, especially when in this kind of situation. I just don't think it's going to work out. I'm being honest with you. Bill Charlebois says, I find it confusing when you tell the dog to sit. When the dog does sit, your voice says, good boy, good sit. Is the dog confused whether it is a boy or a sit or a good boy or good sit? That's a good question. It sounds stupid, but it's not really that stupid. So basically what I'm rewarding the dog for is the dog is a good sit, good boy. In other words, a good boy because you're sitting, a good sit because you're sitting, right? Or whatever it is. You're using the good as the bridge word. I talk about this in numerous videos. So I'm not going to get into it here, but I use a bridge word to continue a behavior, and I release on a yes. So in other words, the first dog, I say sit, the dog sits, I say yes, and I release the dog. Then I build a bridge word, and I say sit, the dog sits, and I say good. That's a good sit, good boy, good. In other words, the word is good. I can say good banana or whatever, but the word is hearing the dog is hearing the word good, and the good is the bridge between the command and the release. That's it. I know a marker word. It's a different system. I mean, the marker. It's definitely a marker system, but it's a little difference in the application. I like the way I teach it better. It seems to work more effectively from what I've seen. Some people will tell you their system works better. I don't think it really matters. Whatever works, it works. Next question goes out to, I'm using my iPad here, which is actually kind of nice. Khmer. Okay. Robert, I have a question. My dog has separation anxiety, whatever. I walk out of the room. I don't even need to leave the house, and she starts barking and whining. Neighbors are complaining about her being so vocal, and I've decided it's time to get a bark collar. My question is, she barks mostly from the second she's put in her crate, despite me ignoring her and not reinforcing the behavior. But I don't want her associating bad experience with being in the crate, such as being corrected on the bark collar. So is it a bad idea to put the bark collar on her when she's inside the crate, as this is the main reason I need the collar? So it's a great question there, because what you want to do, first of all, if I put Maya in a crate in the car and she's without a bark collar, she's going to go ballistic. She's going to the car is going to be shaking while she's barking because she gets that excited and that crazy overdrive when being away from me or even whining in the car. You need to condition the dog to the bark collar. At some point, I'll do a video on how to do it, but here's the quick nutshell thing. You put the bark collar on the dog, and you don't turn it on. You put it on for a day or two or three. Let him bark, let him bark, let him bark. Then you put the bark collar on. You can put it on a very slight vibrate. And then you turn it, and the dog barks, feels it vibrate, barks, feels it. Then you turn it on a very low stimulation. So the dog understands that the barking makes the collar do something, right? Whether it's a stimulation, a beep, or a vibrate. Once the dog understands that, then you can start amping up the correction, right? And you can put it even on an automatic setting. But the dog must know that it's causing the collar to do that. If you just put it on the dog and turn it on, and the dog's getting shocked, the dog is freaked out and will continue to freak out and continue to try to bark through it because it's afraid. So it takes some work. It's a really, really good thing to do. I would highly recommend a bark collar because if not, you're gonna be getting rid of your dog, and that's the cruelest thing you're gonna do. So like I said, Maya goes in the car, she gets a bark collar on. She'll only bark once or twice in the crate, and then she's quiet, and actually really makes her like her crate more. She's very, very calm. If there's a car, any kind of black car, because I've got 2 black cars, any kind of black car around, she's going to the car. She loves being in the car, and she's always got a bark collar on the car, so there's no negative association with it at all. Question 2 from Indigo Moon. What would you do with a dog who is heavily distracted by scents and other dogs in this situation? I just started walking a dog who pulls hard and constantly on a leash, super high energy, and bolts over to any dog he sees. I can only train him in public spaces like parks. I've tried the technique in your video, but he only pulls on long line the whole time trying to get around other scents. So you're going to have to find a place with less distractions. You can't bring a dog into a situation with crazy distractions and expect to work him through those distractions because he doesn't know how to do it. You have to teach the dog what you want him to do without the distractions and then introduce the distractions. So maybe you need to find a better place to train, or find a different time to train when there's less people out. And you might, I don't know how old the dog is, I don't know what's going on, but a dog is going to be distracted by people and scents and other dogs because that's just what they are. That's just what they're going to do. If it's a very low drive dog, they won't have that. But for the most part, most dogs have this. But you've got to introduce those distractions once the dog kind of has an idea. Maybe do some training inside your house. Put the dog on a prong collar. Teach the dog leash pressure. Teach the dog the techniques you want. Then bring him out and at a very low traffic time, bring in the distractions, and then start correcting the dog. But don't correct the dog for being distracted when you haven't taught the dog what you want it to do in the absence of the distractions. It's idiotic. It's just never going to work. You're really being really, really cruel to your dog. Sometimes these things sound really simple, don't they? And they are. I know it's harder to apply, but I mean, if you look at it in its simplest form, you got to get back down to the rudimentary communication between you and the dog. Sorry about that. All right, Stewie says, thanks once again, but question, do you need to train the dog to learn to look at you when the dog needs to go or not? Or will it learn on its own when you say no when the dog starts sniffing? Is this somehow associated with a look command in your past videos? Well, the look command is one thing, right? I teach a look command as a really important part of the communication between me and my dog. The dog must look at me, must focus on me, and must do that. I don't know what video you're referring to. This is a 3-month-old question, so I don't know. But if I say no to the dog, like if the dog is sniffing something, I say, hey, leave it, the dog will generally stop and look at me because I've based the relationship on the dog looking at me. That's the very, very first thing I teach the dog, is to engage to me, to look at me, to connect to me, and to communicate with me. Then I'll introduce other things. It's all about building a relationship in training, right? Your training must be based upon a relationship between you and the dog so that you don't just have this blank policy of the dog not knowing what you really want them to do. Kendrick Fernandez says, hey, Robert, I have a 6.5-month-old German Shepherd. She's very cool and playful with humans and other animals like my birds and hamster. I hope she's not playful with your birds and hamster. It's not going to end up well. But she seems to not like other dogs. She snaps at their throats every time. This may be rough playing, but I don't like it. I want to be able to take her on hikes and such, along with my friends who have got older dogs. What do you suggest I do to correct this? Thank you. P.S. You're an amazing dog trainer. Lots of love from India. So thank you very much for that. And I love hearing people from India. For some reason, I got a lot of people who follow me from India. So it must be a very, very cool country who loves dogs. This is really about a leave it command, right? So letting your dog get overly playful with anything, another bird, a hamster, like you're saying here, or whatever, is really nice, but it's something you don't really want the dog to be focused on. You don't want the dog really thinking that it's okay to play with these other things because it's your dog. And I know it sounds very selfish, but we want the dog to be focused solely on us. The dog should just focus on me. I let Goofy play with Dwayne and with Maya and with Jimmy and stuff like that. But he knows it's his job to be with me. And right now he's laying right here on my side. And Dwayne and Mater's upstairs with his mom. You must get the dog to understand that you're his first priority. If the dog does something like that, correct him. Bring him back. Hey, over here, lie down. Get the dog to understand that. Do short play sessions with other dogs. But if the dog, playing at the neck and stuff, that's a shepherd thing. That's both of my shepherds do that. That's not abnormal. So I wouldn't really worry that much about it being a dangerous thing, but I would also learn how to cap those drives, how to shut those drives off and bring the dog really, really back to you so the dog understands the focus of being with you. That's the dog's primary job. Okay, we've got a lot of questions today, and trust me, I'm not even making a dent in what it is. Mike says, is it possible to change your dog's command to a binary system when the dog is older? My dog is 5, rescued the dog about a month ago, and absolutely it is completely... you're starting with a blank slate because it's your dog. You're starting the communication. However you communicate with the dog is the way the dog's going to communicate. If, for example, you were to land an airplane in another country and there was just nothing there but Bushmen, you would learn the Bushmen's language because it's mandatory. It's what you need to survive. It's what your dog needs to survive. It's how you will communicate. You will take the upper hand. The Bushmen won't learn English or whatever language you speak, but you will learn the Bushman tongue and this is the Bushman tongue. That's how you will learn it, and your dog will learn your language because you're going to feed it. You're going to be fair to it. You're going to really have a nice relationship with it. So yeah, start training right away. Tobias says, nice video, Robert. I was wondering, when training obedience, do you wait for eye contact and then mark the behavior? Greetings from Germany. Great question. I do not, because it depends what I'm asking the dog to do. If I'm asking the dog to ascend away or scent discrimination or a bite command or whatever it is, I don't necessarily need that eye contact because the dog is doing the job. I need the eye contact when I want the connection from the dog to me. So for example, like a heel or a front or anything like that, that's where I want a little bit more of a connection from the dog. But when the dog is doing a job that I'm sending him to do, I don't really necessarily want that connection because I want the dog to be able to work independently. And if the dog is connecting with me every time, that independence is kind of squashed because it becomes a dependence. Let's see here. Robert, your videos have helped me so much. This is from Carlos Maldonado. Have helped me so much. I have an 18-month-old blue heeler and wonder how much exercise is too much. She comes with me when I run or ride my bike, and after a long session, she could just keep going, but I don't want to overexert her. So, use your head on this one. An 18-month-old heeler is a high-energy dog. The dog's going to go and go and go, but be very fair to the dog. Don't overdo the stress on the dog, and leave your dog wanting more. You don't want to start building, like people build monsters. They give the dog 10 minutes of exercise, then 20, then 30, then 40, then an hour, then this, and you're starting to build a dog that will just get stronger and stronger and stronger, and you can't keep up with it. So if you're running the dog or taking a nice bike ride and she wants to keep going, no, your job is that's it. That's all we're doing. Lie down now, eat a bone, have some water, take a nap. That's it. Don't push your dog to the ultimate limits. Unless you're doing something crazy competitive, I don't recommend it. Okay, I think we might get through all these questions today. This might be really kind of nice. By the way, if I haven't made a shameless plug for you to join my website at robertcabral.com, I'd like to insert that here. There's tons of great dog training videos that are lesson style videos in my membership section at robertcabral.com. Less than $10 a month. Great deal. Updated every week with new full-length lessons, guys. I'm telling you, this is really, really worth it. Plus, you get a weekly Q&A from me that nobody else gets. And if you can't afford that, just go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel because there's tons of great stuff up there too. All right, second to last question is Neely Selwood says, thanks for the videos. They're a lot of help with me and my 1-year-old Irish Terrier. I do, however, have a question that I would appreciate being answered. If possible, my dog has learned not to jump up on people when they come to visit our home. But as soon as we are out in the park and someone speaks to her, then she jumps up on them. I can't seem to find a way to teach her how to stop this behavior. So what's happening is the dog is contextual. In other words, you've probably taught the dog not to jump up on people in your home, and the dog understands it there but doesn't understand it yet in public. So what you'll need to do, first of all, is make sure your dog is obviously on a leash in public, and that when you probably have a command that you taught the dog at home, like sit or whatever. If you can give the dog a basic command and do it in this phase, person comes up, tell your dog, hey, Rover, whatever your dog is, sit, wait, or sit and stay, or whatever that command is. Have the people come up, instruct the people for the first few sessions not to look at or engage your dog. That's going to be the first part. If they can kind of avoid that, the dog is going to get confused because the dog is waiting for the person to say hi or look at them or try to pet them or something like that. If you can get the dog to see this picture that they're not going to engage him, the dog will keep looking at you. Keep that session short, reward the dog, pet the dog, praise the dog, give the dog a treat, whatever you want to do, and then walk away from the dog, from the person. Take your dog with you and walk away from the person. That will give the person the clear picture of what you need. To give the dog a clear picture of what to expect. And that's what's really important. If the dog is expecting the person to engage them, to talk to them, to pet them, or to do anything like that, that it's at that moment that the dog will generally break and want to play with the person. So if you can get them to ignore him, you walk up, hi, John, how are you? Rover, sit. Good, oh, nice to see you. Don't look at my dog, don't talk to my dog, don't touch my dog. Then you take your dog and say, come on, Rover, let's go. You walk away, make a big party, happy time, super happy time, and the dog will be really happy about it, and the dog will see that that's not going to happen. You've got to keep the initial sessions really, really short so the dog can succeed, and you got it. Super easy. Please try that and shoot me an email. Let me know how that works, because I think it's a really good lesson to learn, a very good situation. Let's see. Torsten Johnson. Thanks for your videos. They've been helpful and insightful. How would you train a dog to deal with stimuli that's uncommon and not replicable? In this case, we have a 14-month-old Cane Corso, good with people, dogs, and most animals. During the fall, we occasionally get deer near our house and near where he is walked. Deer set our dog off. When he was a puppy, we socialized him with people, dogs, etc., took him to parks to show him birds, waterfowl, and such, and acclimate him to those. Well, he's now a well-behaved around what he is used to. Any ideas on how to help him with situations we can't simulate? Thanks again for all your work. All you're going to need to do really is introduce him. Since he already understands this kind of control issue, which is what it is, it's a control under prey or under distractions, you just need to kind of, in other words, you're never going to, expose the dog to every single thing you want him to listen to. In other words, or not pay attention to. So you're not going to be able to say, okay, well, this is a deer, this is a buck, this is a water buffalo, this is that. It's always just the control of the drive, and that drive is basically a prey drive. So if you can control the dog in front of a squirrel, you should be able to control the dog in front of a horse, because you're controlling the drive of the dog, not the object that's distracting it. So make it a little bit easier for yourself. First of all, don't overthink this whole thing, because that's, I think, what you're kind of tending to do. But just look at it that you have control over the dog in front of waterfowl. So if you tell the dog, hey, leave it for waterfowl, use the same command, the same intonation, and the same communication or correction you'd use when it comes to a deer. You'll need to use a leash, a long line, e-collar, prong collar, whatever it is, to kind of communicate with the dog, to make sure that the dog doesn't fail by going after the deer or anything like that. But once you do that, it should be a super simple transition, and it shouldn't be as complicated as you're making it. I think it's going to be a lot easier for you. You've done a great job with the dog up to now. I think it's fantastic. So I'm going to wrap it up on this one, on the coronavirus podcast. I'm sure we'll be having a lot more of these. But like I said, let's all stay positive. Let's do all the best we can for our dogs, for our fellow people, regardless of who they are, where they're from, what they look like, what they believe, or anything like that. Share a smile with someone. Share a smile with your dog. Give your dog a lot of love. There's no proof up to this point, and again, I'm not a doctor or scientist or anything. I'm just me. I'm just a dog trainer. But I have not seen any proof of the coronavirus being able to be spread by dogs. There's no reason to get rid of your dogs. The only thing that somebody concocted was that if somebody sneezes, they've got the coronavirus. They sneeze on their hand, they pet your dog, and then you pet your dog and you touch your face. That's a lot of touching, by the way. That you could catch it that way. So other than that, I wouldn't worry about it. Just keep your social distance, be cool, be chill, take this in stride. It's not a big deal. You're not going off to war. They'll be dropping a nuclear bomb on you. This is a really not a big deal, right? Nobody's asking you to go out and clean the streets. I'm just asking you to stay home, be chill, follow the law, don't be divisive, be supportive of your local, state, and national politicians. Be supportive of the president. Be supportive of your governor. Be supportive of your friends, of medical people. Say a prayer or whatever you do for the people, the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, even veterinary people who are still doing amazing work at this time. Thank you, guys. God bless all of you very, very much. Thank you for what you're doing, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.